She didn't know this would change her life forever. She didn't know the man she was about to help owned more money than anyone in that restaurant. All she knew was that he looked hungry, and she had exactly 1 penny left. Lena Harper had learned something early in life. When you're poor, you learn how to smile through pain. At 24, Lena worked double shifts as a waitress at Maple Street Diner, a small, worn-down restaurant tucked between a laundromat and a closed shoe store in downtown Chicago. The kind of place where the coffee was always a little burnt, the booths squeaked when you sat down, and the regulars knew your name. She had grown up counting pennies with her mother at the kitchen table, bills spread out, rent always late, electricity shut off more than once. And yet, somehow, her mother had never let bitterness settle in their home. Kindness, her mother used to say, is the only thing nobody can take from you. Her mother had passed away 3 years ago. Cancer. Fast. Cruel. Unfair. Since then, Lena was alone. No family, no safety net. Just rent due, aching feet, and the hope that tomorrow might be easier. That night, the diner was unusually quiet. Rain tapped softly against the windows, streetlights reflecting off wet pavement. Lena wiped down the counter slowly, her body exhausted from a 16-hour shift. She hadn't eaten since morning, but hunger had become something she knew how to ignore. She reached into her apron pocket and felt around. A crumpled receipt, a hair tie, and 1 small copper coin. 1 penny. Her entire net worth. She smiled to herself bitterly. Figures. That's when she saw him. The man stood just outside the diner doors, staring in, not asking to come in, not knocking, just watching. He was tall, thin, with a gray beard that looked like it hadn't been trimmed in months. His coat was old, too big for his frame, sleeves frayed at the edges. Most people would have looked away. Most people did. A couple inside the diner whispered. One man frowned. Someone muttered, "Here we go again." Lena felt a familiar tightening in her chest. She knew that look. She'd seen it in the mirror too many times. The look of someone who had nothing left. The manager, Rick, noticed him too. "Don't open that door," he warned. "We already had one guy come in asking for food earlier. Company policy." Lena nodded. She'd heard that speech before. But her feet moved anyway. She pushed the door open, the bell chiming softly. The rain smell rushed in. The man was startled, like he hadn't expected anyone to actually acknowledge him. "Sir, are you okay?" Lena said gently. His eyes, sharp, intelligent, and deeply tired, met hers. "I'm fine," he said quickly. "I didn't mean to bother anyone." His voice wasn't slurred. He wasn't aggressive, just worn down. "I was just seeing if you were still open." Lena hesitated. She knew what Rick would say. She knew she could get in trouble, but she also knew what it felt like to be invisible. "We close in 10 minutes," she said, "but I can get you a coffee." The man smiled faintly. "That's kind of you, but I don't have any money." Lena swallowed. "Neither do I." She reached into her pocket again, feeling that single copper coin between her fingers. A laugh almost escaped her. Soft, sad, ironic. She looked back at the man. "Come in anyway," she said. Inside, Rick shot her a sharp look. "I'll handle it," she whispered. She poured the man a hot coffee, added cream and sugar without asking, because she knew that small comforts mattered. Then she disappeared into the kitchen. 5 minutes later, she came back with a plate. 2 eggs, toast, a side of hash browns. The man stared at it like it was a miracle. "I can't," he began. "It's okay," Lena said quickly. "It's on me." Rick cleared his throat loudly from across the room. Lena ignored him. When the man finished eating, he reached into his coat pocket slowly. "I want to pay," he said. Lena smiled sadly. "You don't have to." He pulled out nothing, just air.
His shoulders sagged in embarrassment. That's when Lena did something she didn't even fully think through. She reached into her apron, placed the penny gently on the counter. "For the coffee," she said softly, "just so you don't leave feeling like you owe anything." The man froze. He stared at the coin, then at her. "You need this more than I do," he said quietly. Lena shook her head. "Maybe, but tonight, you need it." Something changed in his eyes. Not gratitude, not pity, recognition. He closed his hand around the penny like it was gold. "Thank you," he said. "You have no idea what you've just done." Lena smiled. "I think I do." He stood up, pulled his coat tighter, and headed for the door. Before leaving, he turned back. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lena." He nodded. "I won't forget you, Lena." She watched him disappear into the rain, thinking that would be the last she ever saw of him. She was wrong. Very, very wrong.
The rain didn't stop that night. It came down harder, louder, like the city itself was trying to wash something away. Lena stayed late after her shift, wiping tables that were already clean, stacking sugar packets that didn't need stacking. She kept seeing the man's face in her mind, the way he held that penny like it mattered, like it meant something. Most people would have laughed at a penny. He didn't. When Lena finally locked up and stepped outside, the street was nearly empty. Neon lights flickered. A bus splashed through a puddle. The cold wind cut through her thin jacket. She walked 3 blocks to the bus stop, shoulders hunched, arms crossed. That's when she saw him again. The same man sat on a bench beneath the broken streetlight, rain dripping off the brim of his worn cap. He wasn't asking for money. He wasn't sleeping. He was just sitting there, waiting. Lena hesitated. "Don't be stupid," she told herself. "You've already done enough." But her feet betrayed her again. "Hey," she called softly. He looked up, surprised. "Lena, you didn't take the bus?" He smiled faintly. "Didn't need to." She glanced at the empty street. "You don't have anywhere to go, do you?" The man didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, "Not tonight." They sat on opposite ends of the bench. The rain soaked through Lena's shoes. She didn't care. "My name is Henry," he said after a moment. "Nice to meet you, Henry. Most people don't sit this close to someone like me, especially not someone who gave away their last penny." She laughed softly. "You noticed that, huh?" "He notices things," he replied. There was something about the way he spoke, measured, thoughtful, not broken, not desperate, just tired. "How long have you been out here?" she asked. Henry looked at the street. "Long enough to learn who people really are." He told her pieces of his story. Not everything, just enough. He said he'd once had a family, that he'd worked his whole life, that one bad decision led to another. "I lost more than money," he said. "I lost myself." Lena understood that too well. She told him about her mom, about working nights, about trying to stay kind in a world that made it hard. Henry listened, really listened, not interrupting, not judging. "You're different," he said finally. Lena shrugged. "So are you." A bus approached. Lena stood. "This is me." Henry nodded, standing slowly. "Thank you, again." "For what?" "For reminding me who I used to be." As the bus pulled away, Lena looked back through the fogged window. Henry stood alone beneath the streetlight, penny clutched in his hand, rain soaking his coat. She felt a strange ache in her chest, like this moment mattered, like it wasn't over. The next morning, Lena overslept. Her phone buzzed wildly. When she answered, Rick was shouting, "Where are you?" I'm on my way," she gasped. You better be, he snapped. We've got company. When Lena burst into the diner 10 minutes later, breathless and apologizing, the place looked different. Too clean. Too quiet. And sitting in her usual section by the window was a man in a perfectly tailored suit. Silver hair neatly combed, expensive watch, shoes that probably cost more than her rent. Her heart skipped, because she recognized his eyes. It was Henry. Lena froze. Her hands were still damp from washing them in the back, her apron half tied. For a second, she wondered if she was still half asleep, if this was some cruel trick her exhausted mind was playing on her. The man sitting in her section couldn't be Henry. Not like this. This version of him looked like he belonged on the cover of a business magazine, not a rain-soaked bench under a broken streetlight. Yet when his eyes met hers, he smiled. The same quiet smile. "Good morning, Lena," he said. Her legs felt weak. Rick rushed over, his voice suddenly smooth, polite, too polite. "Miss Harper," he hissed under his breath, "this gentleman requested you specifically." "Requested me?" Lena whispered. Henry, no, the man, stood and extended his hand. "May I sit?" he asked kindly, as if he hadn't already been sitting there for 10 minutes. Lena nodded, still stunned. She sat across from him, heart racing. "I don't understand," she said. "What's going on?" Henry glanced around the diner, the cracked vinyl booths, the humming fridge, the handwritten menu board. "First," he said, "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For letting you believe I was something I'm not." Rick hovered nearby, pretending to wipe the counter while clearly eavesdropping. Henry leaned forward slightly. "My name," he said calmly, "is Henry Whitmore." The name hit Lena like a brick. She'd heard it before. Everyone had. Whitmore Holdings, hotels, real estate, technology investments, one of the richest men in America. "No," Lena whispered. That's not possible." Henry smiled softly. "I get that a lot." Rick nearly dropped a coffee mug. You mean that Henry Whitmore?" he stammered. Henry nodded once. "Yes." The diner went silent. Even the grill sizzled quieter like it was listening. Lena's stomach twisted. "So you were pretending?" she asked, her voice tight. "You lied to me?" Henry shook his head slowly. "I never asked for anything under false pretenses. I never told you who I was. I simply let the world treat me the way it wanted to." "That's insane," she said. "It's necessary," he replied. Henry explained. Every year, he stepped away from his life of wealth and protection. No security, no assistance, no credit cards, just the clothes on his back. "I do it to remember," he said, "to see who people really are when they think I'm nothing." Lena felt anger rising in her chest. "So this was a test?" she snapped. "To see if I'd pass?" Henry met her gaze. "No, it was never about passing or failing." "Then what was it about?" "Truth." Rick cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, if there's anything we can do, discounts, free meals?" Henry raised a hand. "You've already done enough." His eyes flicked briefly to Rick's name tag. Lena noticed. He noticed everything. Lena stood up suddenly. "I need a minute." She walked toward the back. Her hands shook. She felt embarrassed, exposed, used. "He took my last penny," she thought, "and he didn't even need it." Henry followed her. "I never meant to hurt you," he said gently. "You could have stopped me. You could have told me." "And ruined the moment where you chose kindness without knowing who I was?" he asked quietly. Lena turned, tears in her eyes. "I wasn't kind because I thought you'd pay me back." "I know. That's why it mattered." He reached into his suit pocket and pulled something out. The penny. The same penny. He placed it in her palm. "I carry it with me," he said, "because it reminded me that generosity isn't about money. It's about character." Lena stared at it, speechless. "I want to do something for you," Henry continued. "No," she said immediately. "I don't want charity." He smiled.
Neither do I. He paused. I want to offer you a job. Her head snapped up. A job? Not as a waitress, he said. As yourself.
Lena stared at Henry like he'd just spoken another language. A job as myself? She repeated slowly. Exactly. She let out a short, disbelieving laugh. I don't even know what that means. It means I don't need you to pretend to be anything else, he said. I've met plenty of polished professionals. What I'm looking for is someone honest. Lena crossed her arms. Her heart was still pounding. You don't know me. Henry met her gaze calmly. I know you gave away your last penny without asking for anything in return. Silence filled the small storage room behind the kitchen. The hum of the freezer, the distant clatter of dishes, it all faded. That doesn't make me special, Lena said quietly. It makes you rare. Henry explained slowly, carefully, like he didn't want to scare her. He ran foundations, real ones, not for publicity, not for tax breaks. Quiet programs that helped people who'd fallen through every crack in the system. You need someone close to the ground, he said. Someone who sees people before they become statistics. Lena shook her head. You want a waitress to help run charities? I want a woman who understands hunger, Henry replied, and dignity. Lena felt something tighten in her chest. This sounded too big, too dangerous, too hopeful. And what's the catch? She asked. No catch. That's never true. Henry smiled sadly. Fair. He took a breath. You'd travel. You'd see things that aren't easy, and your life wouldn't be simple anymore. Lena thought of her tiny apartment, the overdue bills, the nights she cried herself to sleep. Her life wasn't simple now. Rick burst into the room. Miss Harper, he said stiffly, we need you on the floor. Henry's eyes darkened slightly. She's with me, he said. Rick swallowed hard. Of course, I didn't realize. Henry turned back to Lena. Take the day off, he said gently. Paid. Rick nodded fast. It was almost comical. Lena felt sick. Everything was happening too fast. I can't just quit my job, she said. I'm not asking you to. Not yet. He handed her a card. Simple. White. One number. No title? She asked. Titles get in the way. She looked at the card like it might burn her fingers. Why me? She asked again. Henry didn't answer right away. Because when I had nothing, you treated me like I mattered. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. The penny sat on her nightstand, the card beside it. She replayed everything in her head. The rain, the bench, the look in his eyes. What if this was real? What if kindness actually came back? The next morning, Lena went to work like nothing had changed, but everything had. Customers smiled at her. Rick avoided her. And then during the lunch rush, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart skipped. Hello? Lena, Henry's voice said. I hope I'm not interrupting. She swallowed. No. I wanted to ask you something. Yes? Would you have helped me, he asked quietly, if you'd known who I was? Lena didn't hesitate. No. Henry smiled on the other end. Exactly, he said. Lena almost didn't go. She stood in front of her tiny bathroom mirror, staring at herself like she was about to meet a stranger, because in a way, she was. Her one good dress hung loosely on her frame. Black, simple. Bought on clearance 2 years ago for a funeral she never attended because she had to work that day instead. She brushed her hair twice, then a third time. Get it together, she told herself. You're still you. The black town car waited outside her building exactly at 9 a.m. The driver stepped out, opened the door, and called her Miss Harper. That alone made her stomach flip. As the car moved through the city, Lena pressed her forehead against the window, watching Chicago change. Cracked sidewalks turned into clean streets. Corner stores turned into glass towers. People stopped rushing. Money slowed everything down. Henry was waiting at the entrance of a tall, modern building downtown. No homeless coat, no rain-soaked cap. But when he smiled, it was the same man. "You came," he said. "I almost didn't," she admitted. He nodded. That's usually a good sign. Inside, everything was quiet, controlled, perfect. Employees nodded respectfully. Doors opened before they reached them. Lena felt small. "I don't belong here," she whispered. Henry looked at her. "Neither did I once." He didn't take her to an office. He took her to the basement. Down past polished floors, past conference rooms, past elevators that only worked with special access. Finally, they reached a locked door. Henry typed in a code. Inside was a room full of files. Not digital, paper. "What is this?" Lena asked. "These," Henry said, "are people." Folders stacked to the ceiling. Single mothers, veterans, kids aging out of foster care, elderly men sleeping in cars. "These are the ones who never get headlines," he said quietly. "The ones who don't fit into neat charity boxes." Lena's throat tightened. This is overwhelming. It should be. Then Henry took her somewhere else. A shelter on the south side, underfunded, forgotten. The director hugged Henry like family. Lena watched him kneel to talk to a little boy at eye level, listened as he remembered names. This wasn't performance. This was personal. But then came the shocking visit. They stopped outside a boarded-up building. Lena recognized the street. Her stomach dropped. "This is my neighborhood," she said. Henry nodded. Inside, she saw faces she knew. The woman who slept in her building's stairwell. The man who asked for change near her bus stop. You knew where I came from." Henry met her eyes. "I needed to know if you'd still choose kindness when it hit close to home." Anger and emotion flooded her chest. "So this was a test?" "No," Henry said firmly. "This was an invitation." Later, back in the car, Lena finally said what she'd been holding in. "This comes with a price, doesn't it?" Henry didn't pretend otherwise. "Yes." Her heart sank. "You'll see suffering every day," he said. "You'll carry stories that don't end well, and once you see them, you can't unsee them." Lena looked down at her hands. She thought of the penny. "I've been carrying that my whole life," she said. Henry smiled softly. "Then you're already paying it."
Lena didn't answer Henry right away. That night, she sat on the floor of her apartment, back against the couch, bills spread out in front of her like accusations. Past due stamps, red ink, final notices. Her phone buzzed. Rick. She didn't answer. She picked up the penny instead. "So what do you think?" Henry had asked earlier. She'd said, "I need time." Now time was staring back at her, demanding an answer. The next morning, Lena walked into the diner and handed Rick her apron. "I'm taking a leave," she said. Rick blinked. "A leave?" "Yes." "For how long?" Lena thought about it, then smiled. "I don't know." By noon, she was standing in Henry's building again. "I'm in," she said. Henry didn't smile right away. He studied her, like he understood the weight of what she was giving up. "Then we do this honestly," he said. "No pretending." Her first assignment came fast, too fast. Henry brought her into a boardroom filled with polished executives and lawyers, people who spoke in numbers, not names. A shelter was failing, funding misused, the press was sniffing around. "We shut it down," one man said, quietly. Lena's chest tightened. "You don't shut down a shelter," she said. "You fix it." Silence. Henry watched her carefully. "Fixing it costs more," someone argued. "So does ignoring it," Lena shot back. "People get hurt." That night, the story broke anyway. Billionaire's foundation under investigation. Lena's face, her face, was in the article. Who is Lena Harper?
Waitress turned charity insider, Whittemore's new protege. Her phone exploded. Messages, calls, strangers judging her life. She sat on Henry's office couch, shaking. "I didn't sign up for this," she whispered. Henry sat across from her. "I know." The next day, protesters gathered, some angry, some hopeful. A woman shouted, "Do you even care about people like us?" Lena stepped forward before security could stop her. "Yes," she said, "I do." The cameras zoomed in. Henry's jaw tightened, but he let her speak. "I was one of you, and I still am." The crowd went quiet. Later, Henry confronted her. "You broke protocol." "I broke silence," she replied. He studied her, then nodded. "That's why I chose you."
The first sign of betrayal didn't come with anger. It came with silence. Henry didn't call Lena that morning. No briefing, no updates, no quiet "you okay" text he'd started sending every day since the press storm. By noon, her phone buzzed, not with his name, but with a headline. "Whitmore hid millions while playing poor," sources say. Lena's stomach dropped. She read the article twice, then a third time. Anonymous insiders, leaked documents, photos of Henry on the street, ragged coat, tired eyes, next to pictures of his mansions. The word deception screamed from every paragraph. And then she saw it. Her name. According to insiders, Lena Harper may have been aware of the ruse. Her hands started to shake. "That's not true," she whispered to the empty room. By the time she reached the building, chaos had taken over. Lawyers rushed past her, phones rang non-stop, security blocked half the elevators. She found Henry alone in his office, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. "You didn't tell me," she said, voice cracking. He looked older, tired in a way she hadn't seen before. "I was going to." "When?" she demanded. "After everything exploded?" Henry finally told her the whole truth. Years ago, one of his foundations had failed. Bad oversight. People got hurt. He paid settlements, buried stories. "I walked away from the streets that day," he said quietly. "I promised myself I'd never forget." "So you pretended to be homeless while still controlling everything from above?" "I needed to know if I still deserved to help anyone." Lena felt something inside her crack. "You used me," she said. "You used my kindness to feel better about yourself." Henry flinched. The betrayal cut deeper when she learned who leaked the story. Not the press. The board. Men who smiled at her, who praised her courage, who hated the attention she brought. "She's a liability," one message read. People listened to her. Lena stared at the screen, heart pounding. "I trusted them," she whispered. Henry closed his eyes. So did I. Then came the collapse. Sponsors pulled out. Donations froze. Protests turned ugly. Outside the building, someone threw a bottle. Lena stood beside Henry as sirens wailed. "I can't do this," she said softly. "I won't be a symbol in someone else's lie." Henry turned to her. "I don't want you to be." "Then tell the truth, all of it, or I walk." Silence. Then Henry nodded.
The press conference was announced with less than 2 hours' notice. No spin, no filters, no lawyers rewriting sentences. Just the truth. Lena stood backstage, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles hurt. Beyond the curtain, she could hear the noise, reporters shouting, cameras clicking, the low roar of people who wanted blood more than answers. Henry stood beside her, unusually quiet. "You don't have to stand up there," he said softly. "This is my mess." Lena looked at him. "No," she replied. "This is our moment." When they stepped onto the stage, the room exploded. Questions fired like bullets. Mr. Whitmore, was this an act? Did you manipulate the public? Is Lena Harper part of the deception? Henry raised a hand. Silence followed. He took a breath. I lied by omission, he said clearly. I let people believe I was powerless when I was not, and for that, I am responsible. Gasps rippled through the room. Lena felt her heart hammer. Henry continued, I did not do it for publicity. I did it because years ago I failed the people I claimed to help, and I was afraid money had erased my humanity. A reporter shouted, So this was about you? Henry nodded. Yes, and that was my mistake. Then he did something no one expected. He stepped aside and let Lena speak. Her legs felt weak as she approached the microphone. I didn't know who Henry Whitmore was when I met him, she said, voice shaking but steady. I saw a man who looked cold and hungry. Camera zoomed in. I gave him my last penny because I've been there, because kindness doesn't ask for resumes. A murmur spread. And when I learned who he was, I didn't stay because of his money. I stayed because he was willing to listen. Then came the most dangerous moment. A reporter stood up. Did he pay you to say this? The room went silent. Lena's chest tightened. She looked straight into the camera. I make less now than I did as a waitress, because truth doesn't come with bonuses. The room erupted. Outside, the reaction was immediate. Some praised them, some called it staged, some wanted heads to roll. As Lena left the building, someone shoved past security. You're a liar, a man yelled, grabbing her arm. For a split second, fear froze her. Then Henry was there. Security swarmed. The man was dragged away, shouting. Lena trembled. Henry's voice broke. I'm so sorry. She looked up at him. So am I. But I'd do it again. That night, alone in her apartment, Lena turned on the TV. The story was everywhere. But something had changed. People were arguing not about money, but about kindness. And that scared power more than anything.
The world didn't explode the way everyone expected. It paused. Donations didn't vanish overnight. Protests didn't get louder. Instead, something stranger happened. People started asking questions, not about Henry's money, but about themselves. Lena noticed it first at the grocery store. A woman paid for the man behind her. A teenager helped an elderly neighbor load bags into a car. Someone taped a sign near the bus stop. Kindness is still legal. She stood there longer than she meant to. Inside Whitmore Holdings, everything slowed down. The board fractured. 2 members resigned. Lawyers backed off when public pressure shifted. But the damage was real. Henry's name was no longer untouchable. Neither was Lena's. Henry called her late one evening. I'm stepping down, he said. Her heart skipped. From what? Everything. That puts my face first. She was quiet. And you? I'm giving you a choice, he said. They met the next morning, not in a boardroom, but at the diner. Maple Street Diner. Rick stared like he'd seen a ghost. Henry ordered coffee, black. Lena smiled. This is where it started, she said. And where it should continue, Henry replied. I'm dismantling the foundation, at least the way it exists now. Lena's breath caught. People need it. They need something better, he said. Smaller, local, led by people who live the stories. He slid something across the table. Not a contract. A notebook. Blank pages. I want you to build it. Or walk away. Lena held the notebook like it was fragile. "This isn't power," she said. "No, it's responsibility." She looked around the diner, the cracked booths, the quiet dignity, the people just trying to get through the day. "I don't want to be famous," she said. "Good. I don't want to be rich. Even better." She took a deep breath. "I want to matter." Henry smiled. "You already do." She made her quiet choice that day, not on camera, not with applause. She stayed.
5 years later, the building on Maple Street no longer had broken windows. The old shoe store next to the diner was now something else entirely. A sign hung above the door. The Penny Project. No applications, no conditions, just help. Lena stood inside, watching people move through the space. Not clients, neighbors. A young mother filling out daycare forms, a veteran learning how to write a resume, a teenager charging his phone and eating a warm meal. No cameras, no headlines, just life, quietly improving. The project had started small, a folding table, a coffee pot, 3 volunteers. But something about it spread, not money, trust. People donated time, skills, patience, and pennies. Thousands of them. A glass jar sat near the door, filled to the brim. On it, a handwritten note. "Give what you can. Even 1 penny matters." Lena still lived simply. Same neighborhood, same bus stop. But now, when she walked home at night, she knew names. She knew stories. She knew she wasn't alone anymore. Henry rarely appeared in public these days. He lived quietly, in a modest apartment nearby. No suits, no speeches, just presence. Every morning he walked to the diner and ordered coffee. Black. Every morning he left a penny on the counter. One rainy evening, just like the first night, Lena stood outside the Penny Project, locking up. She noticed a man standing across the street, thin coat, tired eyes, watching. She felt it in her chest before she thought it. She crossed the street. "Hey," she said gently, "you okay?" The man hesitated, "Just seeing if you're still open." Lena smiled. She opened the door. Later, as she turned off the lights, Henry stepped inside. He held up a penny. "You kept it," he said. Lena nodded. "It was never about the money." Henry smiled softly. "No," he agreed. "It never was." Somewhere in the city, someone was choosing kindness, because one woman once gave her last penny and changed everything. If 1 penny can change a life, imagine what kindness can do.